People, Deluded, I'm back again. Thank you very much for tuning back in. I mean, it feels like I'm giving a press conference. Coincidentally, I mean, I'm on my way to being a football manager if the attire was well. I mean, I've got the decent jumper on. But yeah, man, I'm back again, people. We might as well go through some rumours and just talking points I've seen online. Now, a lot of them are nonsense. A lot of them, as you know, don't mean anything and don't count for anything. Now, I've made this video actually just using Zoom. I bought another camera, people, but it's moving a bit mad. Like, it's not agreeing with me. I was recording what I'm about to speak about. I thought I had it and I was beginning to record. After a couple of minutes, I see it just cut out. You know, I can't really hear myself back. I might have to send this back and get another one, people. So we might have to sit down with using this or doing this via Zoom a bit more, a bit longer now, people. So you can see as I've tried, if you want to know the make of the camera and all them things there, it's a Canon EOS or E0S 4000D. Yeah, it's a piece of crap. At least it looks like it right now and it moves like it. So yeah, in that regards, let's move on with what I was actually going to speak about. Apologies for the weather, people, in true British fashion. Actually a bit normal. It was summer. It was summer basically yesterday. Looks like it's going to rain and really pee down. Moving away from that, and the Mirror, depending on how valued you think they are in saying anything. We heard Real Madrid after Aubameyang for a while now. It's the same old rumour that gets recycled time and time again. You know, for a variety of reasons, he's joining Real Madrid. He's a good player. You know, he's made a promise to a loved one. They want him to help with the rebuild. And we know Arsenal's in a delicate position with him. But apparently, according to the Mirror, Real Madrid want to sign Aubameyang, but they won't wait beyond the middle of next month, which would obviously be June, to know whether or not the Gabon star will join them. One option Real wanted to explore was a potential swap deal, including Dani Ceballos, but sources close to Real say the club knows a swap deal wouldn't be easy, and there's an acceptance that Madrid would have to find 40-odd million to sign Aubameyang. Now, Listen, I understand the Aubameyang Ceballos ones. I mean, allegedly we want to get Ceballos in next season in some capacity, whether that's permanently or on loan. So maybe money. I don't know if it was a straight swap. I'd assume you've got to put some bread on top of us being offered Ceballos. It wouldn't match up. You'd more want them to give us Jovic or an attacking player. And obviously you've heard Jovic has broken his foot or something. So that one will probably be out of the window. 40-odd, we shouldn't sell him. You know, we should be, I think it's underselling him because of the position we've got ourselves as a club in. But I think we can get our 50-odd million back. If we can't, you might as well just let him run his deal down. And to be honest, I'm not saying Aubameyang's just focused on money, but it is one thing we all think about in our careers. If you do your job properly, you've got to think about it. Sporting terms and football terms, Real Madrid can offer him better trophies, but he's got a lucrative contract at Arsenal, at least for another year. Does he want to see out that and reap the bonuses and clauses and the actual financial incentives? Because not that's anything to do with Aubameyang. Just type in footy leaks Aubameyang, you can look at his whole contract, people. And maybe that adds another dynamic and another layer to this discussion in relation to Aubameyang departing the club or actually leaving, sort of thing, people. Do you get it? Obviously, in terms of offering us Ceballos for him, I don't condone that, because if you're going to offer us Ceballos, are they going to offer us, 20 million? If they value him at 40-odd, are they going to say Ceballos is worth 20? Or are they going to say, because you've seen that they actually value Ceballos around 40, 50. So is it going to be a straight swap? Which obviously leaves us with two things. Obviously, 40 million and whatever money we've got to add on top potentially isn't going to find someone, at least known to the honest common fan like you and I, that's going to replace Aubameyang's minimum 20 league goals, people. It's just not going to happen. 40-odd million isn't going to do much. And it's just a different profile to Aubameyang and Ceballos. It's chalk and cheese. You can see the element to the rumours because you've seen Ceballos quash rumours in the last 24 hours that he's going to Seville next year. My gut is that he goes back to Real Madrid for some point next season, tries to break in, and potentially, if to go on loan, I think he'll go on loan in La Liga. Maybe that's a strategic move. You're more under the eye of the honest La Liga fans, so questions can be asked as to why you're not in Real Madrid. And obviously, you've got to think about his international career. Who knows? But we'll get on to Partey in a bit, people. But I would like two profiles of midfielders at Arsenal. I'd like a box-to-box man like Partey, who's not necessarily... I don't mind signing the DM, but Partey is not necessarily a defensive mid. He's more box-to-box, where he can break down play and contribute, in other words. I also think we need someone that's a bit of a... We need to find someone like, again, and not to use Mesut Ozil, but someone that offers what Mesut Ozil offers in that he tries to get assists, links up play, but they're a bit more of a modern-day sort of guy, and they tend to be more midfielders now. The poetry in motion or 10 position is quote unquote dead now, really and truly. There isn't that. There literally isn't that too tough. There is some examples, but it's not around too tough. Now, to a degree, Ceballos is the man who kind of breaks the lines and stuff. Sorry. So if we was to get a Ceballos and pay the loan fee, which is allegedly 5 million, that might give us a couple extra bob to go and get Partey. Because if we really are under financial constraints, I can't see us going for Ceballos is rated at 40 to 50. The same goes for Partey. So anything from 80 to 100 million on two midfielders. But hey, you hear we want a centre half. I don't know what other areas Arsenal wants to get involved. I can't see us committing that to that sort of outlay without certain players, being moved on, without us sorting out other futures and stuff like that. So I don't know, but for what it's worth, it is what it is. According to Graham Hunter, Atletico Madrid are unlikely to be interested in, speaking of Partey, better yet, they're unlikely to be interested in a swap deal in relation to Lacazette and Partey because of Lacazette's potential wage demands and obviously his age, and that's a value thing. Lacazette's 28. For Lacazette, if he gets a respectable wage, more than at Arsenal, he's joining a good squad. They have more of a chance of probably winning trophies than us. They're in the Champions League. But for them, here they want Cavani. It doesn't make sense signing Cavani and Lacazette. And I don't think Lacazette actually fits their profile really and truly for what it's worth as me as a fan. But it doesn't make sense. You're hearing they've got financial problems away from what's affecting everyone globally, Atletico Madrid's people. So would it make sense to commit to two players if they were to get Cavani in a free transfer, who's in his 30s, and Lacazette not behind him at 28? It doesn't make sense for them people. So they probably just want straight cash for Partey, to which Arsenal might have to identify and go and find it. Graham Hunter also expanded and he said Partey would be interested in working with Arteta because they play the same position and Arteta can help him improve. Now, again, Partey's had a lot of offers allegedly based on paper talk. PSG interested, Bayern Munich interested, Juventus interested in. For these three clubs, if it's, Arsenal shouldn't be in the conversation. Of course, we can rely on historical ties and, family influence, and maybe he's got his heart set on this. And maybe, obviously, it's not Pep Guardiola. Arteta is not in the same bracket as Pep Guardiola because he hasn't walked the walk that great man has. With no disrespect to him, apologies. That's just a fact. But, if you're not going to sign for City, and there are some other great coaches you can work with, but, who better to work with, but if you want to work for Pep Guardiola or wanted to work under him, like Louise said, you've got Arteta. He was more or less there a couple of months ago. He can help do things for you. And if he was looking at Arsenal, okay, we're not setting the world alight, and these players. The word I use in improvement is subjective and maybe a bit overblown, but you're seeing what he's done with David Luiz and Mustafi to a degree. You're seeing the confidence he's given Saka and these sort of players there. And you could think, okay, this is a coach who knows how to really improve players, and his man management is very good. And similar to Simeone. Simeone is a very passionate guy. I don't know Atletico stuff, but I'd imagine he's a good man manager. Just because on the way he plays and the passionate, you need everyone to fight for you and really fight for the cause, whether they love you or hate you. So I'd imagine, he sees similarities in that regard. And obviously maybe being Spanish and obviously him spending a significant period in Spain, that might help him. He might think, okay, cool. The coach is from Spain, how we like to play football, how most Spanish teams probably play, because Atletico is a bit of an anomaly, in my opinion, in my experience of La Liga. They're a bit defensive and teams are structured in Spain, but obviously I think more teams have a goal. He might think, okay, cool, he gets me I've lived in Spain, he's a Spaniard, we can try and play some attractive football. I want to be part of this. If I can get a decent contract, live in London, play Premier League, these are all things we could be doing, people. Apparently, for what it's worth, Hunter also said, as well as seeing Arteta doing that, he said Partey speaks decent English, so it wouldn't be an obstacle in any regards. So yeah, we all want Partey, man. Moving away from that, and reports from Italy have said Arsenal have made an inquiry over Federico Chiesa, 22 years of age and plays for Fiorentina, and he's a decent player. Year and Juventus have been in for him, so who knows? Maybe we are in for a wide player. Keeping up with reports from Italy, and apparently Arsenal are unwilling to budge over their 17 million valuation of Henrikh Mkhitaryan, which, Arsenal are within their rights to reject it. Again, I think we're playing a dangerous game because you don't want to be stuck with Mkhitaryan, have to pay his wages for another year, and we'd have to use him, but he's not going to be utilised as well as other players. He's one of the first. He might not be the worst player out of all the players we probably want to move on, but he's probably one of the first contracts we need to deal with. There's willingness from Roma's hierarchy clearly to deal with Arsenal, because you have heard everything from, extending it for another year. He's signing for 10 million. He's signing for 20. The manager speaks of him highly and says, with all respect to what's going on globally, we'd like to keep him. Mkhitaryan appears willing to stay there and have his heart set on staying there. So his agent will have to bend towards that. To which these all play in Arsenal's hands. But again, Arsenal, you'd imagine just the fact of his wages being off the wage book would be enough in any capacity. So hopefully there's some progress in there. Now, Talisio of Bayern Munich's been linked with Arsenal a couple of times. Allegedly, from reports coming out, I don't think he specifically said it. Apparently, he wants to play in the Premier League next season, and Arsenal are among the clubs keen on signing the player. You heard Manchester United tried to sign him in January, so that could be something of interest to him. Obviously, Lacazette's a good friend with him. He won the World Cup, so you'd imagine he speaks to Pogba and just about any French player that's won the Premier League or been in the Premier League, that he won the World Cup with. There's Giroud, there's everyone he could speak to, sort of thing. There's people that didn't get in the French squad that I'm pretty sure he's cool with. I'd imagine he is cool with Lacazette. So there's Lacazette to speak about there. And who knows who else he's crossed paths with. I would like Talisio. I wouldn't mind Talisio. Again, Partey's the one I got my heart set on, but I think Talisio is a better player than some people give him credit for. I do think he's fairly versatile, and I do think he'd have the competency to do well here. So it is what it is in that regards, people. Keeping up with transfer talk, and allegedly the Mail say Arteta has been told that he will be limited to free transfer this summer, and apparently the club are understood to have offered Willian a 3-year deal. And this is, I don't think Willian would actually sign for Arsenal on a 2-year deal, and he probably would, but that's good. That's good from his agent if he is on a 3-year deal, because what is he, 30, 31? He's tied him down. His family allegedly wanted to remain in London. Again, it would, if this is true, it kind of doesn't make sense, Arsenal. Again, if we're working with a budget and stuff and we have to be a bit smart, there's sense. Willian isn't a bad player. But, what you do, is it a case of, trying to eradicate a short-term headache and still suffering with long-term health problems? Because, and I'm not saying anything bad or malice about Willian, but you look at it, eventually you're going to have Willian here. If you sign Willian for 3 years and you extend David Luiz's contract, you've got two players that are on the wrong side of 30 and the wrong side of their careers still on the wage book. You've got Ozil and Mkhitaryan for 1 more year minimum, people. This doesn't make sense. You'd have, Aubameyang's a great player, and Aubameyang's an anomaly because he deserves his contract. But let's just to show the agenda, you throw Aubameyang in there on the wrong side. You've got people like Lacazette, who's 28, couple of people around. You probably look, Leno's a bit younger, but you're looking at the Lenos, they're relevant to a degree. But you're looking at the Lenos, you're looking at the Lacazettes, and you have to give them deals. And what you don't want to do is you've given too many great packages to players. If they deserve it, cool. But you don't want to have too many late 20-year-olds tied down for the next 3-4 years. Because if they get a big injury, what happens? You don't really want to be giving Willian a free, not just him, but anyone a 3-year deal. I'll give it to Aubameyang, and he's an anomaly. But you get the point. And we run the risk of never really getting out of this wage problem that we have, people. It really wouldn't make sense when we have a chance, really, to grind through these tough times. Don't get me wrong, we are very poor as a team now, but really clean things up, because if you get the Mkhitaryan's off, you get Ozil's. But listen, I love Aubameyang, but if Aubameyang keeps it moving, it is what it is. If a Lacazette at some point, I'm not saying that we're going to leave in one window, but says the same, then it's almost like we can clean to start anew. And again, these are not the players that necessarily need to be the first out. So I'm not suggesting that by any imagination, people. Well, it is what it is in that regards. Moving away from that, and I'm all sure you've seen that allegedly we've been linked with Gerson, who plays for Fluminense. Is it Fluminense? I don't remember the team name, people. Let me go and check. I can never pronounce these things. It's either Fluminense or Flamengo. It's one of them teams there. I think he came up through Fluminense. Yeah, he plays for Flamengo now. So what was that? The same team as David Luiz. Pablo Mari. So again, did we watch him there? I'm sure he played against Liverpool. I could be wrong on that. Yeah, he came through Fluminense and he now plays for Flamengo. So yeah, I first came about him when he was playing for Fluminense. He's a promising player. What I remember by him, very strong dribbler. Wasn't the biggest and most composing. Very strong dribbler. Could play and excel centrally in a number of midfield roles, as well as further advanced, even as an inverted sort of winger guy. Left-footed, if I haven't said that. Very strong drive in it. Decent in terms of holding on to the ball and finding a teammate. Coming to Europe's tough for anyone. He arrived at Europe, I'm sure, at 18, maybe not too much older. He's now 22. Not 2022, he's 22. And it almost feels like football's a long circuit. It feels like a game where you've been around forever, people. I mean, I'm sure he made his debut at 17 and was spoken of, at least to my ears, from when he was 17 as being a baller and things like that, people. And he's now 22. That's around, forgive me if I'm wrong, 5 years. That's a long time. So he's still young. He's still very young. for obvious reasons. If he's playing for Pablo Mari's former team, you can imagine why we're interested in him, because you know, if we do think he's a decent player, we have to have seen him substantially. Now, when you're actually scouting one player, you don't always see the game, or if you're looking at the game, you don't always see a player. So I'm not saying just from going for Marie, we saw him, but you'd imagine we had one ear to that sort of thing. And you'd imagine, because of, if they're not Brazilian nationals at boardroom level at this club, they either have ties because of previous employers, or they're scouting out there. We've got one eye open to everything. And we thought, all right, Gerson, maybe we need to take chances with these players who were written off at a period by someone. Let's give him his move back to Europe and see what he's doing, sort of thing, people. He has developed as a player and does look to be playing with more maturity from what he's seen. He has been linked with Dortmund and Spurs and a number of other clubs. So clearly, I don't know if this is just agent talk and things, but there must be something in him that's improved to make people want to give him another chance. You know, obviously, the Fiorentina move after Roma. He's been at Roma and Fiorentina. When he came to Europe, they didn't really work out. He played sporadically at Roma, to put it nicely, a so-so period from what I can remember off the dome at Fiorentina. And he's really found his feet since he's gone back to his homeland, people. They purchased him last year, the Brazilian club Flamengo, for 11 million. So you'd imagine they'd be open to selling him and making a tidy profit. If someone puts 30 or so million on the table, you signed him 1 year, he's gone. I'm sure they had Pablo Mari, and if he's made permanent by Arsenal, they've made a quick buck on him as well. And you know, apparently he's their most expensive signing for what it's worth. And if I haven't said it, he's got 3 years left on his deal. His dad, I don't know what his dad's motives, but apparently his dad reveals Arsenal are interested in him, and he confirms also Tottenham and Spurs. He also admits that Nice had a proposal last year and says that four Brazilian clubs tried the player before Flamengo in 2019. So again, I've used Google Translate as to why I've had to stop and read it again. But, you know, there was a lot of interest from what I take from his homeland, and teams in Europe are looking at him. You look at Arsenal, we're looking to get to that model. If we could get him written off to a degree at 22 years of age in his homeland, give him another chance, he plays well, he helps us get Champions League. We can make up the same way Flamengo make a decent profit on their 11 mil. We can make a profit on our thing, or he can help us in terms of longevity. Dortmund, of course, they try and find these unearthed gems. I wouldn't say he's a gem in unearthed because people know about him, but he could potentially be a gem. And Spurs have to probably look at signing some young players as well. Again, I could be wrong, but I'm sure he played against Liverpool. He can play a number of midfield positions. He probably excels the most when just, you know, I'd say some sort of creative role centrally. But I'm not watching him religiously. He struggled at Roma, where obviously he was with Gervinho and Salah. So we'll see what happens in that regards. Yeah, man, I don't think he's, you know, it's not the worst players to be linked with. So if he came, it's not going to upset me in any regards personally, people. Moving away from that, and Arsene Wenger's been speaking. He said, in relation to Arsenal, he said, I worry about the club still a lot, and I watch all the games. So come back, my guy, man. Come back and watch us when the games get back. And we need to see you in the stands. I believe there's a culture in the way to play football at Arsenal that I want to be respected, and I hope Mikel can get that back. Of course, that means obviously you know, trying to play good football and all of these sort of things. I did hear some comments in the week about, he said that we lost our soul when we moved to the Emirates, and I do believe that. I mean, it signified Arsenal moving from a football club and achieving stuff. Obviously, there was always going to be tough times, but it really became, football's always been a business, but it really became that we were a business, because we did make business decisions. You look at David Dean, there were some decisions to be made, but you did feel, and in hindsight, I wasn't comprehending at the time, but looking back, as I am at 25, that decisions were made not just in Arsenal's best interest, but the best sporting interest. Now it's the best business decisions don't necessarily correlate, and we know there's been one consistency in Arsenal over the years at the Emirates, which has been, you know, we've got the FA Cups and that, and previously it was Champions League. But on a sad note, you know, our form on the pitch has been inconsistent. We've been consistent for highest ticket prices and all these commercial things. So it is a bit true. And I share his thoughts. Hopefully Arteta can do that. But he said, I loved Highbury a lot. There was a soul, something special. When you came down the road and arrived at Highbury, you know, sometimes when I was in the area on my way home, I'd have to drive through Highbury because it's a special place. When speaking about, obviously, the Emirates, he said, at the time, I pushed the club to do it because we had 38,000 people at Highbury and we could move into a 60,000 stadium. We built all that without a penny from anybody. And today, that club can take off even more and be even more successful. And it could. But the man at the top has to want to be a Premier League winner and win all of these things. And I don't think you can't criticize Stan Kroenke for all the things that have gone on at Arsenal and stuff, but the underlying mentality comes from the head. If the shepherd wants to be a winner, if the shepherd wants to have the finest meat in the whole farm and have the best farm in the world, he will aspire to do that. If he just aspires to have, the meat's good, you can come mess with us, then you'll get mediocre and inconsistent and so ones. So it's lambs and whatnot and beef and cows and things. So we have to see what happens in that regards, people. There isn't anything more to add, really and truly. So I'm going to really get out of here. I'm going to get back to trying to learn how to use this camera. I give myself 48 hours or it's going to get packed right back up and get taken to the post office and head right back on its way back to Amazon. So at least for a couple more days, we're going to have to hold it up via this format. But for now, people, DG, I'm out.